10 takeaways. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. I'm excited for this one. This one, you have to be excited. How are we not excited about it? There's Rashad Bateman touchdowns. There's multiple Roschon Johnson touchdowns. This is a week to be excited, everybody. Permission to get excited about week 5 and the rest of the football season. I am wired for sound. I used to say that all the time because I used to do Waiver Wired, and then Matthew Berry stole the name Waiver Wired from us, and now they're Waiver Wired. So cool name that the people over there at NBC Sports and Roto World found for Matthew Berry's new Waiver Wire show. Waiver Wired. How about that? So now, unfortunately, I didn't know. I didn't know that they were going to steal the name. That's not why I gave the show to Theo. I gave the show to Theo because he does such an amazing job with our Waiver Wire article on playerprofiler.com. Bookmark the article section on Player Profiler and be sure to read that piece every week. I also post my own fab guidance on Patreon, patreon.com/podfather, but that's just my own preferences. You have to understand by watching this show that there are biases that I have. Like, I'm not going to be bidding big on Tank Bigsby. That's just not the type of running back, the between the tackles grinder on an 0-4 team. That's just not the guy that I'm bidding on most weeks. Theo is a next level genius above me. And that's why I had Evan Ringler on the rankings update show last week, because we leverage the geniuses here. I'm not a genius. I am a manager of technology and information and data, and I'm good at steering the ship, the big picture, finding great people. That's what I'm good at. I also enjoy podcasting, and some of you enjoy listening to what I have to say, and that's also cool. But at no point have I ever said, I know more about fantasy football than Theo Greminger. I know more about fantasy football than Evan Ringler, because I don't. And when Theo sent me the screenshot of where he had Tank Bigsby in his waiver wire column, I was just like, you know what? Tip of the cap to you, sir. Tip of the cap to you, sir. I didn't have that one. So it's not necessarily over for Travis Etienne. Now on Patreon, again, patreon.com/podfather, I did release a backstage pass where I go behind the scenes. I talk about my family. I talk about the company, a lot of the managerial aspects that don't get shared on podcasts. That's why I have the backstage pass, to talk about some of those internal challenges that we have here, strategy, where we're going, and also my daughter's fledgling soccer career. In fact, we're rapid fire today. It's all rapid fire on the top 10 takeaways today, because I got to go to a soccer game. 3 games in a row. She's got her middle school game. She's got her club games, and she has 3 games in a row. She's doing absolutely amazing. She got the double high five coming off the field from the coach. So that was the only double high five I saw any coach give the entire day yesterday, was to my daughter. Got the double high five because she's a right back, and their left winger was absolutely a menace. And yet somehow she did not score on Vivian. And so that's huge. And she also she found a way to take this girl down in the box and not get called for a penalty, which was amazing. I don't know how that happened. As soon as she went down, I was like, oh God, that's a penalty. I felt so bad. I don't know if any of you have ever been in this situation where your kid is about to be the reason why the team scores, right? That's the problem. If you have I was like, hey, listen, we're volunteering here to become a family of defensive backs. And if we're going to be D-backs, then we don't get credit when things go well, and the receiver's not targeted. We don't get the credit. But we get the blame when the receiver scores a touchdown on us, or in this case, when a striker scores or a winger scores. So it's a lot of dirty work and not a lot of not a lot of fanfare with this position. This is what we're volunteering for. Okay? So you just gotta. It's gonna be more. The crowd is gonna notice you when you make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake though. There was no penalty. She walked me through it after the play. I was like, wow, unbelievable. So there was some. That's what you got to do, man. That's what you got to do. I try to explain this. You just got to be physical. You got to get some elbows and some shoulders and, step on some feet and step on some ankles. And you've just got to make those players, the prima donna superstar players, you got to make them uncomfortable. That's what they do in the NFL, isn't it? Right? If you're a big NFL fan, which she is, then be like an NFL defender out there. Make life uncomfortable. Okay? We're not doing the hip drop tackle, but make life uncomfortable. So I'm very proud, very fired up. A lot going on in the NFL. Just rat-a-tat-tat. Rat-a-tat-tat. And I sat down with my takeaways today. I had takeaways, and I sat down. And so I've been meeting with our team. We have John Adams. John Adams is the head of our charting team. Okay? And he provides me with cliff notes for this show. And they're incredible. Every week they get better and better and better. I couldn't do this show without John Adams. I owe a lot of what I'm able to do here to John Adams and his charting team. Absolutely incredible. Everyone give a round of applause wherever you are to John Adams. I want to make sure that he gets the necessary credit. Also Theo with the strategy. Theo telling me, hey, you got to lay out the show to the audience. You can't get distracted and talk about irrelevant stuff at the beginning. Oh. Ooh. We were talking about youth soccer to start the Top 10 Takeaways show. Essentially, the first show that I publish on a Monday to get people fired up for week 6 and to drive the audience crazy, get them going, right? Bring in new listeners, bring in new members to the underworld, right? And the way to do that is a youth soccer talk at the beginning of the show, right? No, that's actually not what I'm supposed to do. So I'm already fucking up, right? I'm already fucking up. So that's not the right thing to do. No. However, I am going to start the show by saying you should like and subscribe it. I think I'm supposed to say that. Okay? We're supposed to like and subscribe the show to get it to more people. If you like this show and you want it to be successful, then you should like and subscribe to it because then more people will find it. That's the reason. It's not a selfish reason. We don't have a horse in this race. I don't care if the show does well or not. It's really just about making sure people can find it. Isn't it true? Yeah, so you should definitely do that. Definitely do that. Okay, I did it, everybody. Tyler, Theo, I did it. We're not even 10 minutes in. And I already have no takes except apologizing that I wasn't higher on Tank Bigsby in years, for years. And so that's we haven't accomplished anything yet. But I'm laying out what the audience should be doing, calls to action. These are things, I think there was a book that was written about this. I'm sure there's a tutorial about this online. And also to prepare you for the exact number of takeaways and to tease some of the topics. This is another element of the show that I need to add, according to Theo and the strategy folks here at Player Profiler. And so I am supposed to just keep the show nice and tight, like a nice tidy show. I gotta go to a soccer match, right? I gotta go, right? It's gotta be all rapid fire, and so we should just keep it to a nice tight top 10, maybe 15 minutes, rat-a-tat-tat, easily consumable, boom, 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 right? You don't want to be longer than, say, someone's treadmill experience. So if most people are on the treadmill for 30 minutes, keep the show to 30 minutes. This is what the content people are telling me. And so I'm going to keep it to top 10, just 10. I've distilled it down to 10. So let's count them. We're going to go ahead and count the top 10, the takes. We'll count them all up here. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. There's 19 takeaways today. Okay, so again, okay, what did we do? What did we do correct? So we did one thing correct, which was I said like and subscribe, but I said it in a very sarcastic way. Then it wasn't believable. So if you don't like and you don't subscribe to it, spoiler alert, I don't care. And my heart's not in it, but I'm supposed to do it. Okay? I'm just here so I don't get fined. And I'm supposed to keep it to 10 and keep it short, 30 minutes. And we're already 10 minutes in. I haven't talked about anything yet. So that's not happening. And then we can't limit it to 10. It's going to 19. I did get the progress we've made this year is that we now have a definitive number of takes. Pretty good. Definitive number. Okay. So first things first, let's talk about CeeDee Lamb. We have to talk about CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver one. Remember CeeDee Lamb, the locked-in wide receiver one? And I was always a little nervous about this, and I asked people about this. I'm like, are you sure CeeDee Lamb, really? Because I know he's been relatively productive, but he doesn't look the part of a true NFL alpha. He doesn't have super speed. He doesn't have the size. He was productive in the Big 12 at Oklahoma. These are all things that make me a little nervous. And then he did most of his fantasy scoring last year in the second half against the most injury-ravaged secondaries in the NFL with very little target competition. So it was tough. Did I draft some CeeDee Lamb? Absolutely. Was I drafting him over Christian McCaffrey in PPR leagues? Yes. Ahead of every running back? Yes. But then there was Jamar Chase. Then there was Justin Jefferson. Then there was Amon-Ra St. Brown. There were these other wide receivers, those four in particular, that I thought, I think this potentially higher floors on those players. I think that's true. I think they have higher floors, right? It's like everybody hates Dak unless we're drafting at the 101. Really? Okay, cool. So yeah, we're not in 2023 anymore, Dorothy. And CeeDee Lamb does not look like a top 3 talent in the NFL right now. I'll just say it, he's not. He's not as good as Malik Neighbors. He's not as good as Justin Jefferson, and he's not as good as Jamar Chase. That we know. Is he as good as Amon-Ra St. Brown? I think that's a big question. He's not a top 3 receiver in the league. I don't expect him to finish the year as a top 3 dynasty receiver. And the question moving forward, the question that he needs to answer, and last night against the Steelers did not help him to be dramatically outscored by Jalen Tolbert. No Brandon Cooks. Yes, CeeDee Lamb. Oh, wait. Will CeeDee Lamb outproduce Amon-Ra St. Brown this year? Put it in the chat. Let me know. In the comments, let me know. Do you think that's going to happen? Pick one. Amon-Ra or CeeDee Lamb. I like them both. They're both essentially slot receivers that are playing like a slot plus role. But they can't play everywhere at a high level. Just like George Pickens is not a slot receiver, but he plays on the outside at a high level. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, they can play anywhere on the field at an elite level. Slot, outside, inside, perimeter, boundary, inside, outside, X, Y, Z, however you want to say it. And Jalen Tolbert's rise is not necessarily a grave indictment of CeeDee Lamb either. I want to be very careful about this, okay? It's the classic law of the conservation of targets. If it is a team that's going to be throwing a lot, and Dallas will throw a lot this year, and that's even more damning given CeeDee Lamb's production or lack thereof, the new number 2 receiver is Jalen Tolbert. And that was clear as soon as Brandon Cooks went on IR with this, an infection in the knee. I mean, that is just to have like some bacteria. I don't know what was going on. You can imagine like the pus bubbling up underneath the knee. I mean, it really is vomit-inducing to think about what was going on with Brandon Cook's knee. It probably had like a stench because he tried to play through it, right? Tried to play through this infection. Whoa. Ugh, God, gross. So Jalen Tolbert was a mega producer. We're talking about a 50+% dominator rating in college, but it was a small school, right? It was like South Alabama. It's been a while since I read this scouting report, the college scouting report on Jalen Tolbert, but I believe South Alabama was a school. Maybe. Potentially. Probably. We'll look it up. So it was. Bingo! He was best comparable to Adam Thielen. How long did it take Adam Thielen to break out in the NFL? 4 years. Right? 3.5 to 4 years, if you're counting. This is Jalen Tolbert's third year, if I'm counting. Right? This is 2022. He had 2 catches. Okay? 1, 2. Then last year, 22 catches. Ooh. Wow. That's he 20x'd. He already has that number of catches this year. Right? So he's already at exactly last year's production levels, if not more. Right? The only thing he's not doing this year, he doesn't have the same air yards. He had huge air yards last year, no air yards this year. He's already looking like a top 40 Dynasty receiver and a top 40 seasonal league receiver as well. I like him. And the reason why it's taken him this long is because he came from a small school with a super rudimentary offense. And in year 1, he was lost. He was not a super cerebral player that can pick up the playbook just by reading. Like, he's not Will Hunting, okay? He's not John Nash. That's not him, okay? So he's not cerebral, comes from a small school. It's a redshirt rookie year, and then he starts getting worked into the offense in his second year, and now he's in a place where finally the league is making sense, the playbook's making sense, and he's performing at a high level. He's the wide receiver 29 in fantasy football. This makes perfect sense. This is why we truther for players like Jalen Tolbert. I have a lot of people in my comments on YouTube and on Twitter X talking about how I was so high on Jalen Tolbert when I'm going to take the L on Jalen Tolbert. I'm like, why am I taking the L on Jalen Tolbert? It would be like taking the L on Adam Thielen when he was going into his third year. Why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. Jalen Tolbert was one of those end of the draft picks in best ball that we loved. Loved. So end of the draft, Jalen Tolbert was the best pick. Now, we need to check in with Fast Draft, right? That's the thing to do. We got to check in with Fast Draft. I just want to give a shout out to the teams on Fast Draft that are performing at the highest possible level. So in the Flex 4 game, where you draft 6, it's best ball, draft 6 every week, 4 players start. Chamoinks is in first place. Chamoinks drafted Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry in the 3rd round. Whoa, right? Congrats. Alvin Kamara in round 4. Chris Godwin, round 5, and Zay Flowers, round 6. Fast Draft is 10-man leagues. So it's not that difficult to get Derrick Henry at the top of the 3rd round, which he did, which is great. Super cool. So shout out to Chamoinks, and then a shout out to my man Chris Jamino. Oh, baby. Chris Jamino is in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th place. Let me say that again. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th place. If you can believe that. That's pretty exciting. So we can pull this up right here. Let's pull this up. Let's look at these teams. I think we can have some fun looking at some teams here. So I have some other photos I'm going to pull up later. Oh, that's another thing. We need to do more with images. right? We need to do more with images. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to show more images this year than we have in years past. This is going to be fun. We're going to have fun with pictures. We're going to have fun with pictures. So let's see if this works. We're trying new things on the Top 10 Takeaways show. Let's see if we can do this. We should first look at, maybe we can look at, should we look at Jalen Tolbert first? Let's do that. So there's Jalen Tolbert. Just to let everybody know, just to confirm, Jalen Tolbert is best comparable to Adam Thielen, and he's an above-average athlete with a 51.2% dominator rating. So if you do have Player Profiler, you did see this coming. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, let's look at these fast draft teams. Oh, baby. You've got Chris Jimino with Daniels, Allen, Irving, Tracy, Stover, and Rice. So what did he do? He went Daniels with a quarterback in round 1 and then just running backs. Okay, this is my preferred strategy in superflex dynasty rookie drafts. Is ideally you get a quarterback in round 1 and then you just pound running back. That's also how you win rookie-only tournaments, rookie-only best ball tournaments. And then if you're just doing an all-flex best ball tournament, well, it turned out Barkley was an important pick in the second round. Derrick Henry sometimes slipped into round 3. And then, of course, Alvin Kamara in round 4. I think that's the most consistent player. If you look at down the top 10, it's Kamara, and you see Alex Dunlap there in second place. Alex Dunlap is also in 5th place. So it's Chris Jimino. Congrats to Chris Jimino. Absolutely slaying the Origins all-rookie game this year on Fast Draft. And then congrats to Alex Dunlap slaying the Flex 4 game. Beautiful. Okay. All right. Now I have a few other... I was able to conceal the other photos that I want to post. I'm very excited to show you some photos later. See, I am teasing. You see that see the tease? I'm teasing this. Now, I don't know where they went. At some point, I'm going to find them. I think I've lost them. I don't know where these photos went. They're around. I found one. Oh, and I found the other one. Oh, just wait. Just wait, everybody. Just wait. We're going to go back. We have more photos, and we have some video. We have some video evidence that I'm going to show today. We have some more photos. This apparently is what helps to drive engagement. You need more real-time graphics on your stream, and you need to drop videos on your stream. And these are all things that I'm doing. I swear I'm a good listener. Even though I can't really get the show off the ground for the first 10 minutes, I am a good listener. And we are, 3 takeaways in? Right? 3 takeaways in. So Truthers Unite, Jalen Tolbert. Truthers Unite, Roshan Johnson, 2 touchdowns. Truthers Unite, Rashad Bateman touchdown. We also had Truthers United for Antonio Gibson starting, and now Ramondre Stevenson's picked up an injury. So while Antonio Gibson did not produce in week 5, go back to Antonio Gibson in week 6. Ideally, with the loss, 15-10, the Patriots turn to Drake May, and I believe that my thesis will hold true, that Drake May will unlock Antonio Gibson, and if you missed getting Antonio Gibson on the waiver wire last week, you now have a redraw capability to get him this week. So yeah, we're 4 takes in already. We're almost to the end. We're almost to 19 takes. Yeah, we're only 20%. I know, but I feel like we're going fast. This was supposed to be rapid fire. I have a clock now too. So the producers also told me to get a clock. So I have this clock. This tells me how long we've been live. We've been live for 24 minutes, and we've done 4. So 24 divided by 4 is 6. So if by rapid fire you mean 1 take per 6 minutes, then we're doing great. We're doing exactly what Theo and Tyler want from me. I feel like I'm doing great. Unfortunately, in a week that tight ends finally got there, I mean, can we also just have a moment of praise for the tight end position? We had some tight ends get there. We had 20-plus fantasy points from Tucker Kraft. We had Brock Bowers going absolutely ham. This was big. We actually are getting some tight end production. So it took until week 5 for us to get any tight end production, but it finally came. So I'm excited about that. But it wasn't Dalton Kincaid. So if you told me that there were a bunch of 20-point tight end weeks, I'd been like, oh my God, great. It's one of them had to have been Dalton Kincaid, the perfect game for Kincaid to break out, right? No, it was actually Brock Bowers who got the 12 targets, 8 receptions, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. And the beauty with Brock Bowers, he had the big play, 57-yard. I mean, that's amazing. 57-yard reception and going off for 23-plus fantasy points. He's who you want, right? We talked about trading for him. Like, how do we engineer a trade of a player that we know our league mates want? If we're going to do this, right, if we're going to trade, say, Jaden Reed, we better get Brock Bowers back because Brock Bowers is the leverage at the tight end position. Is Tucker Kraft leverage at the tight end position? Not like Brock Bowers. The target competition in Green Bay with Melton and Wicks and Reed is better than it is in Las Vegas. So that was my fear with Kraft, is that Musgrave gets healthier, and then there's just more options for Jordan Love than there is Brock Bowers. Also, Brock Bowers is just a more talented player. But we are looking at a potential Hayden Hurst, Mark Andrews situation, right? That's the parallel where Musgrave is looking more and more like Hurst. And it's actually the guy that was drafted after the later round pick, who's arguably more athletic, Tucker Kraft, who's looking like Mark Andrews. So Tucker Kraft is looking the part of a top 5 tight end. We got the George Kittle lift off, right? Thank God the tight end position is back. When we have every year there's a new out of the blue, super late round, didn't see it coming, but some people saw it coming, tight end that enters the top 5. This year that guy is Tucker Kraft. But he's being outshined by Brock Bowers, who as a rookie is a complete and utter and total superstar. And the top 5 picks from this NFL draft, this 2024 NFL draft, are looking phenomenal. Look what Joe Alt has done to revolutionize the Chargers offense. Like, the Chargers no longer have to play this, run and gun style. They can actually play the Jim Harbaugh style, the conservative, run the ball, control the clock, win dirty games. The Chargers could never win a dirty game, like a dirty, scummy game. Never, right? That wasn't how the Chargers never won those games. They always were losing games in the final minute. Now with the Joe Alt, they're winning those games. Brock Bowers is the best tight end in football already as a rookie. Jaden Daniels is one of the best quarterbacks in football as a rookie. We haven't seen a rookie win the MVP since Jim Brown. And we haven't seen a rookie perform at this level since Cam Newton. That's where we're at right now with Jaden Daniels. And that's not even listed as one of the takeaways. That's a bonus takeaway. But for all the excitement now, all of the relief around the tight end position, even Kyle Pitts got there, right? Even Kyle Pitts. Dalton Kincaid was set up to smash. Dalton Kincaid facing Houston. This was the game we circled. This had to be the Dalton Kincaid game. We all started him. Everybody did. And then just fart. That was the most disappointing performance. I know a lot of people are, hey, this guy. No. No, it wasn't Breece Hall. No. It was Dalton Kincaid. What Dalton Kincaid did, given the situation, given they have nobody, given the receivers are getting injured, they're banged up, they're facing the Texans. How? It's embarrassing. It's really, really embarrassing. So I'm embarrassed that I ever touted him. I'm not taking the L yet. Oh, no. Way too early for that. But I am in the process of coming to terms with the idea that at some point I may consider taking the L on Dalton Kincaid. That's what I'll give the haters right now. I'll give you that, haters. I will give you that. Oof. Thank God. Well, now the big question is tonight. That's the big question, right? Will Travis Kelce get there? Will Travis Kelce rise up from the dust? Will he? Yeah, I don't know. We know the one guy that can't get there. He couldn't even get to 10 fantasy points, right? He was close. So close. 9.5 fantasy points. That's not 10, though, Mark Andrews. That's not 10. We've moved on to the new Mark Andrews, Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft now ahead of Mark Andrews in every rankings format. How quickly times change. And you're welcome, by the way. I said the one must start this week. We have a TikTok compilation where everyone was basically crawling over each other to take Brian Thomas, who we'll talk about later. Tease. We'll talk about Brian Thomas later. But I was going to do Brian Thomas, but I was like, I just did this. We did this with Pickens. We did this already. We keep going back to this. Outside receivers playing the Colts. Easiest smash in all of fantasy. Easiest call to make. I mean, I'm sure even Matthew Berry's making this call. I bet. Probably. I wouldn't know, but it's very possible. I think it's that obvious. I said, no, you guys, someone will take it. Someone will take Brian Thomas. And of course, the next person jumped right on him. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking T. Higgins. If not this week, when for T. Higgins? We trusted that this would be a shootout, even though the game total started coming down throughout the week. I was like, no. He's fully ramped up, back from his injury, takes some weeks to get fully acclimated. This was the week. The Ravens secondary is their big weakness. We know that by now. So you got to play T. Higgins. But a lot of the recency bias, it infects people. It gets in their head, and they're like, I can't play him until I see a big performance. And then what is likely to be his best or second best performance of the year doesn't count in your total points. And man, that is a shame. That's also why we love best ball. But if you're in a managed league, you should know better. You should have known better. You should have started T. Higgins. Got to listen to me next time. And speaking of Brock Bowers, Aiden O'Connell is an upgrade for Brock Bowers. I've said this from the beginning. I thought he would win the job. Aiden O'Connell's going to win that job, I thought. He performed better last year than any of the other quarterbacks by far and away. He acquitted himself well, but they did the safe thing. The safe thing was to go Minshew, and they did that. Okay, fine. And then this is what you get, right? Gardner Minshew is what we thought he was. Aiden O'Connell actually has an opportunity to create value for himself and the team that they need to go out and get a quarterback, obviously, in the NFL draft. But he has real long-term value to this franchise, some trade value potentially. They'll probably just keep him and let him groom the next quarterback. They're 2-3, right? So they've already won 2 games, unfortunately. So it's hurting their chances of getting a quarterback. Then some teams that already have quarterbacks, they're 1-4, right? So the Patriots, what are they going to do? Right? The thing the Patriots need to do is secure a top 5 pick and trade that. It was so funny. It was so funny. You saw the Bears winning a game. They go to 3-2. And the media woke up and finally decided to look back at the DJ Moore trade, which sent Bryce Young essentially to Carolina and the pick that became Caleb Williams to Chicago. Someone brought a sign to the game that had like the ledger of all the assets that the Bears got on one side and then Bryce Young on the other. And then that became something that's a talking point for these broadcasters. And I'm like, now you want to bring this up? This has been one of the most hilarious things to reference all offseason. But no, they have to have a winning record. The team has to have a winning record before you're going to bring this up. I mean, it's pathetic. Pathetic. The way the corporate media and NFL coverage is, how basic, rudimentary, predictable, outdated, stale it is it's truly pathetic. It's hard to watch. Like, I was watching the Football Night in America because there was a rain delay or a lightning delay in Pittsburgh, and to listen to these people, it was truly painful. Why? What are you talking? This is stuff we've now. If Aiden O'Connell wins some games at the end of the year, maybe they might talk about, oh man, Aiden O'Connell, it was quite the find they had in Las Vegas. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he's pretty good. Just watch it happen. All right, here we go. I've got a comp for Najee Harris. All right, so Najee Harris was in the smashiest of smash spots last night at home, bad field conditions, no Jaylen Warren. This was it. We're all starting Najee Harris. This was it. Projected to finish top 10 by most rankings and projection services. This was it. This was the Najee Harris game. This was the game. There's no other games but this game. Dallas already ravaged by injuries on defense. This was it. And so to look up and see what he did, see how pathetic, how dusty a player can get. It's not dust anymore. It's like mud, like a thick mud, like clay. That's what he is. He's like a human clay, right? And then human clay, because I was gonna say he's human dust, but human dust doesn't have the ring to it, right? He is human dust, but really it's grosser than that. It's more human clay. And then I remembered that the band Creed had an album called Human Clay. And once upon a time, Creed were riding high. And then I found out, imagine my surprise, when Creed's back. All these old, tired, bad bands are back. And it's sad. It's sad to see him back. But that's Najee Harris. Najee Harris is Creed. And Creed is Najee Harris. I mean, unless I'm wrong. Do you think I'm wrong? Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Let's take a look. See if I'm right or wrong. So there it is. So there we have on the left, okay? On the left, we have Najee Harris coming out of Alabama, right? Just glistening and just a first-round pick. And I'm here to take on the world. I'm going to be a Steeler. They're going to install me as the primary back. This is going to be a big deal. And now on the right, this is, I think, the current iteration of the band Creed. You have, is this Scott Stabb? Is that his name? Check me in the comments and chat. I believe his name's Scott Stabb. If that's a real name, I doubt it. But anyway. That's this on the right hand, what we're seeing. And for those listening to the podcast, basically we've got Scott Stabb standing up erect and glistening, young, right? This is he's going to take you higher, this guy. And then we've got Scott Stabb now, trying to eke out like the lyrics, and of course they've stepped it down a key. They're like, let's do all our songs, but in a step down key. We can't get to those levels anymore. And that's basically what Najee Harris is. So Najee Harris is Creed Human Clay. I think that's what he is. And if anyone has a better comp for Najee Harris, let me know, but that's what he is. And I can't start him again. I'm never starting him again. If he didn't get there in this particular situation, I'm never going to start him again. I am going to start Travis Etienne. I am going to start Rachaad White, because Rachaad White is Travis Etienne and Travis Etienne is Rachaad White. These guys are getting cannibalized on early downs by grinder backs and slasher backs, right? So Bucky Irving's a slasher and Tank Bigsby's a grinder. And whoa, we just had a Creed fan give us a thumbs down? What an asshole. Oh, Stapp. Caught Scott Stapp, not Stab. I was thinking stab, but like I want to stab myself when I listen to the music, but it's Stapp. That's a real name. That's not a fake name. That's just a weird name. Thank you. See, this is why we have the chat. This is why you tune in live on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, Twitter X. This is why you do it. Help me out, man. Love it. Love it. Nickelback or Creed? Asked Jeff Life. That's the obvious low-hanging fruit question, isn't it? And I think we got to go Creed there. Because at least Creed was basically saying, hey, we're going to do Pearl Jam, but worse and more like a Christian rock band. And if you listen to it in that context, then it's like, okay, well, that's what they're doing. They're like a Christian rock Pearl Jam cover band. It's fine. It's fine. Nickelback is just offensive on so many levels. What I do appreciate is how hard the guitarists go and how they really try to dig in, like dig in. Really like they're having sex with that guitar. It's a little creepy. So I think I get a little creeped out with some of these guitarists. Whereas the Pearl Jam guitarists, they're just old men. They're just playing guitar. Like Stone Gossard is just having fun. He's just shaking his head back and forth, feeling the music, right? In that way, like Pearl Jam is actually closer to the Grateful Dead than they are Creed. That's a take. That gets us to 20. If you count that take, then that gets us to 20. How about that? So yeah, Rachaad White, Travis Etienne, same guy. They're still going to be getting their 5 targets a game, even if they're not getting the empty calorie touches between the tackles. And sure, they're going to miss out on some touchdowns. That's true. They're not going to be getting the touchdowns they've gotten in previous years, and that is going to lower their ceiling. Yes. Are they going to be as productive? No, they're not RB1s. But are they useful assets for fantasy? Absolutely. And you have to love that Brian Robinson is the new Alfred Morris, and he plays for Washington. I mean, isn't this amazing? The mantle carrier for the Alfred Morris corollary, where linebackers are getting distracted and they're overcommitting to Jaden Daniels, and that's giving that extra crease for Brian Robinson to just pound in touchdowns. Like if I have a svelte running quarterback like a Lamar Jackson or a Jaden Daniels, I don't want to run him at the goal line. It's not a Josh Allen. That's not a Jalen Hurts. So they get the benefit, right, of having that quarterback that's going to freeze linebackers, but then they also get the goal line carries. It's just perfect. Oh, it's perfect. Oh, Brian Robinson. With the injury to Aaron Jones, it's looking like Brian Robinson was actually the absolute nuts in the late dead zone. A lot of good options in the late dead zone. Brian Robinson, the best. That's a take. And we're halfway home. And now we're going to actually get into this is rapid fire. No, this is. Now it is. So I think now we can get into rapid fire. Yeah, we're halfway home. This is good. Now we can this is when we get rapid. I'm looking at my timer right here. Look at the timer. Theo sent it to me. This is where we're at with the time on the show. Theo, that's some passive aggressive shit right there, right? To show up from Amazon in the mail, your producer sends you a time clock. That's pretty, right? That they're serious. They're serious about us winning the algorithm wars in fantasy football. I love it. I'm a competitive guy, so I loved it. I was like, all right, cool. Well, I got something for you, man. I'm going to send you something from Amazon. I don't know what it's going to be yet. If anyone wants to give me in the comments, let me know. What should I send Theo? I'll send Theo anything you want. Put it in the comments. I'll send him anything under $50 on Amazon. I'll send it to him as a passive-aggressive thingy. So what did we learn from week 5? Just trust your gut with these shootouts. We knew Bengals-Ravens was going to shoot out. Don't let the over-under coming down scare you. Trust it. And what was the other game we talked about being a shootout? Anybody remember? Well, you got to go all the way back. Bucks-Falcons. Bucks-Falcons was a clear and obvious shootout. How could it not be? Look at these skill position players. Okay, you got Godwin, you got London, you got Pitts, you got Mike Evans, you got the God, you got the God, Bucky Irving, the best running back in the league, the best running back since Gale Sayers and Bucky Irving. How could you got Bijan Robinson? You got Michael Penix on the bench. How could that not be a shootout? Trust your gut. Don't let Vegas get you off these obvious shootouts. And put your chips in the middle of the table on those players. Drake London is happening. Drake London is a true alpha dog. He's happening. So get right week for Drake London, and there was a get right week for another player at that 1-2 turn in fantasy football in Garrett Wilson. I'm still terrified about Garrett Wilson. He's still going to be, dropping, especially in Dynasty as the year goes along, because there's no hope for him, right? It's quarterback purgatory and team purgatory for Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson for the next 3 years. But everything is pointing up for Drake London, for Bijan Robinson. This is your buy window, this particular moment in time. Timestamp it. In fact, we have a timer right here. Timestamp this moment right here. This show, timestamp, everyone, take a screenshot. Bijan Robinson, the absolute stone low value. You'll be able to get him in Dynasty. Put out your Bijan offers right now. And ask them to throw in Tank Dell. Now, we have a Nico Collins injury. Nico Collins, I love him now, right? This was a guy with great advanced metrics, but a difficult ADP to swallow given all the target competition. And then he decided that he was just the alpha and the other guys didn't matter, and turned out to be an incredible pick in the 3rd round. But he pulled a hamstring. And even though they say it's minor, he's going to be fine, that's never actually true. He didn't come back to the game. He was out for the rest of the game. He will not practice this week. So I don't know why anyone is just cool with what happened. He's probably going to miss a game or two. And that's fine. He'll still end up being a top 10 fantasy receiver. But this is an important moment in the history and career of Tank Dell. You need to try to get him before Nico Collins is ruled out. Trade for him before this happens. That is my advice to you. I was skeptical about Tank Dell last year. I was comforted by his exceptional production last year and the fact that there's offensive continuity. Like the two teams with the most offensive continuity were Tampa, exceeding expectations offensively, and Houston, continuing their high expectations, meeting those expectations. So this coming week, the Texans are going to New England. This is not necessarily a great point scoring opportunity. The total is 37.5. Even the implied points for Texas, favored by 7, are not great. But it will be a Tank Dell show. That tells you, right? I know the Patriots are going to game plan around Stephon Diggs. They've seen Stephon Diggs when he was in Buffalo. They're afraid of him. They know he's a threat. Tank Dell, he's diminutive. He's 5'2", and they're going to forget about him. They're going to lose him in the shuffle. They're going to lose him in the wash. They're going to, where'd he go? He's going to be one of those socks. You can't find the sock. So that's what Tank Dell is. Okay, so you got to get him. You got to get him. And I know you're saying, well, I saw the play. Nico looked fine. I think he's going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about. Well, let's go to the tape. Let's go to the tape and let's watch and see what we think happened to Nico Collins' hamstring.
I am becoming more aware of where the camera is at all times. Deep shot, stab, Nico Collins.
Touchdown, Houston.
67 yards on the bomb. I am becoming more aware of where the camera is at all times. Deep shot, stab, Nico Collins.
Touchdown, Houston.
67 yards on the bomb.
You saw it. You saw him start to, and he started getting on his tiptoes like, what happened? What happened? Something, get up and bit me. Little turf monster, get up and bit me. That's a game or two. He's going to miss a game or two. Of course he is. And also, they're playing the Patriots. See, that's the thing. They don't need to rush him back. They know they're going to win. So, this idea that he's going to play, he's going to be fine, nothing to worry about. Start building your projections and start building your assumptions around Nico Collins not playing. For all those reasons. Okay? Texans are 4-1. Right? What are the Jaguars? 1-4. Colts 2-3. What are you worried about? Right? Let's look at the standings. Let's just look at the standings. Tennessee's also 1-3. They're cruising. The last thing they need to do is rush Nico Collins back. Now the question is, he is definitely not playing in week 6. The question is, who does Houston play in week 7? See, that is the question. That is the ultimate question. So let's take a look. Who does Houston play? They're at Green Bay. That sounds like a game they're going to need Nico Collins for. So you got one game. You got one game before if the Patriots win, then they're going to have to rush him back. I don't know. We'll see what happens. 80% chance Nico Collins misses week 6, and then let's say 30% chance he misses week 7. That's where I'm at, and that's why I'm trying to acquire Tank Dell as soon as possible. Ideally as a throw-in and a bigger deal. That's the way to do it with Tank Dell. Darnell Mooney is a buy high, right? We talked about Darnell Mooney on Underdog was a best ball receiver. Like, what does a best ball receiver look like? He looks exactly like Darnell Mooney. If there's ever been a player that looks like a best ball receiver, his name is Darnell Mooney. So let's go. We have Creed back. Somehow we're back to Creed, but I think that we can also look at Darnell Mooney here. So Darnell Mooney Look at this, right? Darnell Mooney runs a 4.38. He was drafted at slot 135 on Underdog this summer. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing because it's like you made a best ball receiver in a lab, right? Late middle rounds on Underdog, it was all about Darnell Mooney. End of the draft, all about Jaden. Well, couldn't get anyone named Jaden then. All about Jalen Tolbert. Okay? So, we're now 55 minutes in. 55 minutes in with 6 takes to go. I think we should go rapid fire. I think I'm going to go on a limb here. I think I'm going to try something new and talk about us going into rapid fire. If I go over an hour with this show, Theo is going to hurt me. You've seen Theo. You've seen how big his arms are. And you haven't, okay, so I've actually been in the gym with Theo. And imagine his arms like fully rocked out, right? Fully flexed. Now imagine his legs. Okay? So I went to the gym for leg day with Theo. And wow. We were doing the leg press, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I went to do the leg press after him, and then I turned to him and I go, oh, Theo, can you maybe get one of the staff to come over? I think the leg press is broken. It seems to be jammed. And he goes, no, it's fine. You can do it. And I was like, no, but it's not moving. I can't. And he started laughing, and he's like, oh, I think we need to take some weight off. And then he's kept removing plates. And I was like, no, it's still broken. Right? And then more plates come off, and then no, it's weird. It's still broken. So he would hurt me very badly. How are you not drafting Darnell Mooney in best ball? If you are underweight on Darnell Mooney on Underdog, shame on you and quit. I think you quit fantasy. I think that's it. It was so obvious. I think you quit fantasy. And there was a clear and obvious best ball handcuff. And he's been on the waiver wire. He's been on our, fab guidance, a guy you need to pick up, scoop him. Too obvious, right? You want a stretch zone running scheme, a guy that's the perfect fit for that scheme, for a team that's always looking to churn through running backs. And the starting running back is 190 pounds, super fragile. He's a concussion risk. He's a shoulder injury risk. He's an everything injury risk. And that's Devon Achane. And then, okay, now it's Jalen Wright leading the team in yards. And people are going to rush to the waiver wire. In a week where Raheem Mostert played, it was Jalen Wright in a close game. It was so obvious he was a late first rounder in Dynasty startups. And yet, in seasonal leagues, people are dropping him. This is why we play in Dynasty. Dynasty leaguers were not dropping Jalen Wright the way seasonal-only players were just letting go of Jalen Wright. They had no context. They had no idea. They're like, I was in rookie drafts. I could never sniff this guy, and you're dropping him? One of the big reasons why we loved him in Dynasty is because he had year one spike week potential. If you're not in a Dynasty league and you want to be a better fantasy gamer, join one immediately as soon as possible. And if you're in a superflex league, you need to try to get Jameis Winston. Deshaun Watson is horrible. And I had to explain to my daughter, which was very awkward, the whole Deshaun Watson thing, because she was asking me what the announcers were talking about with the scandal and the off-the-field tension points that have plagued him over the last 4 years. And, what are they talking about? What is the situation? And it was very awkward. It was, you never want to say the word massage around a child. It's just very awkward, and it's never a good idea. And the moment I even started to engage in the conversation, I regretted it. I hated myself and the whole situation. I hated Deshaun Watson for it. And I started thinking, can't we just get this over with and get Jameis Winston in here, please? So I don't have to have this conversation. This is just... Because you don't want to say, hey, look it up, because that's even worse as a parent. What do you do? Put it in the chat. Let me know in the comments. What the hell do you do in that situation? Just get him out of here. He sucks. He's terrible. And I will remind everyone that I did not like Deshaun Watson coming out of Clemson because he had the lowest arm strength rating we've ever seen in the history of Player Profiler. The miles per hour on his football were as low as you've ever seen. It was tied for the lowest with like Tyrod Taylor. And I was like, how is this going to work? But he somehow was able to be in a situation in Houston where he could just loft the ball up in the air, shot put it out there, and it would just kind of feather in, drop it into the bucket to Will Fuller, and it would work. Well, it's not working anymore. And he doesn't have those receivers anymore. And he doesn't have that situation anymore. And he's not that guy anymore. He is an embarrassment. And Jameis Winston will put up numbers. Jameis Winston with Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper. Even if they trade Amari Cooper, which they should, they're 1-4, and they need a quarterback. So the tank should be on in Cleveland. It's so sad that they knew they needed a tank with Sashi Brown. They had one of the better rebuilds in recent memory in the NFL. Now they're right back to square one. Because why? Because the top equity holder overrode the front office and did a deal behind their back for a shit quarterback. That's why. You have a meddling owner, the worst. Feel so bad for Browns fans. But it's an opportunity in Superflex to get your hands on Jameis Winston. Now, Jameis Winston also has his own scandals with crabs or something. I don't remember what happened with Jameis Winston. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Because I'm probably going to have to answer questions at some point about Jameis Winston and crabs. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't great. Maybe, was it just him licking his fingers? He was licking crab finger legs? Was that what was happening? I don't remember exactly, but it was slimy, right? It was slimy. Crabs are slimy. He's slimy. These are slimy guys. But I'd rather talk about crabs than massages. But I'm not even sure if that's true because it might have been, I don't know. I hate it all. I hate it all. But even in the process of hating it, we can still bank fantasy points and value in Superflex leagues by stashing Jameis Winston now. Now, you probably stashed him last week, so good for you if you did. If he's still available in the lesser competitive Superflex leagues, you can always trade for him, right? We remember, we're doing this big deal. We're doing this big imaginary deal where we're trading Garrett Wilson, and we're getting Brock Bowers, and we're getting Tank Dell. And if it's Superflex, you want to try to get Jameis Winston, right? So if we're doing this big, Garrett Wilson deal, you're asking for a 2025 first rounder, Brock Bowers, Tank Dell, Jameis Winston. Probably doesn't even get it done, but we're on the right track. You won't be able to get Marvin Harrison Jr. So another takeaway is, will the real Marvin Harrison Jr. please stand up? He was outproduced by Michael Wilson. This is not the first, not the last time it's going to happen, right? I think that Marvin Harrison has been carried by touchdowns. And, yeah, Yeah. So when you ask fantasy analysts to criticize, say, CeeDee Lamb for his unsustainable second half production last year, or Marvin Harrison for evading every aspect of the pre-draft process, they don't want to do it. There's too much brand equity with these guys. I'm here to say it. CeeDee Lamb's overrated. Marvin Harrison's overrated. And I told you that Breece Hall was risky. I said, no. I'm not going to fall for the Breece Hall in the tailpipe. Not doing it. Not doing it. This team stinks. Not that they're terrible, but there's an odor, right? There's an odor around the Jets where it's like, hey, they invested in the offensive line, but is it fake? They didn't really invest in like cornerstone tackles. So it doesn't feel like it's exactly going to work out with the offensive line. You got to see it before you believe it. We have Dan Fornick doing our offensive line rankings on Player Profiler. He's the first one to say this. He's like, continuity and rapport with offensive linemen is a big deal. You can't just patchwork it together for a 41-year-old quarterback who doesn't take performance-enhancing drugs. If you're going to be like a 41-year-old quarterback, you need to be willing to go to Germany and Mexico and everywhere to get whatever it takes to get your body to grow muscle disproportionately for your age. A fellow named Tom Brady went as far as creating a whole nutrition brand called TB12 to distract people away from what he was really doing. Which to this day, if you look back, go look at the stat. Go look at Tom Brady's career stats. Look at the age next to those stats. And you tell me if that makes any fucking sense. Okay? But he poisoned the well, broke people's brains thinking about Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be dust this year. Of course he is. The guy only believes in like homeopathic medicine. For Christ's sake. He needs to have some sort of artificial synthetic shit that he's injecting into his body, or it's not going to happen, man. So you have a patchwork offensive line, a homeopathic 40-something-year-old, and now we're drafting Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson in the first round? How did that even happen, man? How did that happen? Idiots. We're 67 minutes in, and I'm calling the audience idiots. It's going great. We're so close to the end, too. This is a big takeaway. Talent overrides bad coaching. So if you were fading DJ Moore or Caleb Williams or Roshan Johnson or even DeAndre Swift because of coaching, see, that's wrong. The talent will always overcome the coaching. And that's what we're seeing with the Bears. Now, it was the Panthers, but they are 3-2. Caleb Williams is looking better and better and better every week. No thanks to Shane Fraudrin. We know that. But it's all thanks to Caleb Williams. All thanks to DJ Moore. If these guys just didn't have a coach and they just had to draw up their own plays, they would produce against a lot of NFL teams. Don't forget that. And finally, we're going to be at 70 minutes when this thing's over. Finally. Brian Thomas. Right? You're wondering, who's Brian Thomas? What is Brian Thomas? Well, it's a funny thing that happened with Justin Jefferson. He fell to the 1-2 turn in Dynasty rookie drafts. Superflex. I saw people get him at the 201 in Superflex. Because Jalen Reagor went at the 112. The Vikings were able to draft Justin Jefferson outside the top 20. Why was that? Why? Why did that happen? How did that market inefficiency happen? Anyone remember? Because Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Oh my God, right? So many weapons. Yeah, it was about the supporting cast. It was Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase putting up like 18,000 yards. Overshadowed Justin Jefferson. But the thing is, if the guy you're sharing a field with in college is that good, then you should have a correction to your production. Your yards should go up. That's why we have the teammate score on the Breakout Finder app. The Breakout Finder app is in the App Store, Google Play, and there's a teammate score. And one of the highest teammate scores of all time happens to be Justin Jefferson for obvious reasons. Well, who was Brian Thomas's teammate? Did Brian Thomas have like a top 5 receiver in the NFL as a teammate at LSU, just like Justin Jefferson? See, he did. He did. Right? He did. But my takeaway is not that Brian Thomas is Justin Jefferson. That's not what he is. That is not what he is. Malik Neighbors is Justin Jefferson. And at the top of the Dynasty rankings for years to come, it's going to be Neighbors and Jefferson and Jefferson and Neighbors. And these guys are clones. These are clones down to the micro element of their profile. They are clones. But if that's true, what does that mean? It means that Brian Thomas is Jamar Chase. Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.